That's number one. You kind of reset.
Painful, tender to the touch. May also
Same shoulder length, and the other. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is another episode of Real Health with Brandi and Amir. I am Dr. Amir Rashidian, a chiropractor, and Brandi is my other half and the boss and everything else. And she brings all the interesting comments to what we do here. So
maybe just a little flair.
thanks. Yeah, definitely. So this is a podcast where we review all the latest news in health. And we go over what's going on, what's happened, what's coming down the pike, what to look forward to, what to be aware of. And then we put it into information that you can use in your life. So that information, the goal of that is to help you make sure that you can always feel better, get stronger, live longer, and feel younger. What do you think? Are you ready?
I am. We have some good articles today. I'm excited.
There are really good articles today. So I wore my special podcast shirt so we could do a good job.
I'm so glad.
It's all about the shirt. Well,
it is very important.
So let's jump right in. This one is from Health News. I don't know how to handle this one. I'll just read it and we'll discuss it. It's very in a way disturbing, in a way interesting, in a way represents what's happening in society today and what we need to do. So the title of the article says, "Why This Mother Encouraged Her Teenage Daughter to Take Wegovy." Underneath the article, there's some bullet points that say nearly 14.7 million American children live with obesity, leaving parents unsure of how to help them. 14.7 million, and you're like, okay, what does that really mean? Is this a big number? 14.7 million. So there's, 350 million people in America? So 14.7 million, that's
just children.
Let's round up to 15. So 15 out of every 350 people. 15 children out of every 350.
To me, that's a high number.
Yeah.
And then
they don't define obesity, but my guess is it's not that they're a little overweight.
Correct.
It's not like they're big boned. This is a lot.
Right.
Now, the other part says in January 2023, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended anti-obesity drugs like Wegovy for adolescents with obesity. How do you feel about that?
I struggle with the weight loss medication as a whole. So even for adults, the side effects there's a lot of side effects with these drugs. And most generally speaking, when people begin to take some of these drugs, they don't always do the work to change habits, which got them to where they are in the first place. And without making those permanent changes, the lifestyle changes, what's going to happen is these people are either going to have to stay on this drug, which doesn't even allow the body to process your food the way it's supposed to, which means you're probably not getting the nutrients that you're supposed to in your body anyway.
Yeah, this class of medication slows the passage of food through your stomach and intestines. And the biggest dangerous side effect is gastroparesis, which is paralysis of the stomach. And people who are on this, I have multiple patients who are on this. One didn't have any side effects, but she's afraid, so she's tapering down and slowly stopping. The other one doesn't want to stop, and this one actually was diagnosed with gastroparesis, which can kill you. So she wakes up every morning, there's still food in her stomach from the night before, and she has to vomit.
Yeah.
When she wakes every morning, and she goes, "I don't mind, I've lost so much weight. People are complimenting me. I look great."
But the destruction, I think about throwing up every day. Let's just start there, because that is so destructive to the digestive tract as it is, right? So these medications are going to end up damaging the body irreparably. Like, you can't come back from some of this.
So are you saying, I'm going to be controversial here.
Please.
Are you saying that the American Academy of Pediatrics doesn't care about adolescents and says, let's go ahead and give it to them? Or are they saying that, well, it's worse to be obese And if they're not going to change their lifestyle anyways, and they're going to stay obese, we might as well give them some drug to make them stop being obese.
So I think it falls a little bit in. I don't believe generally that doctors don't care about their patients.
But this is
Just
an organization.
correct, but it's an organization that was made up of doctors,
Who's
right?
funding them?
Correct, but let me start here because I believe the foundation is, I don't think people go into medicine who don't care. I'm sure there are a handful, but the general population care about their patients, right? They then graduate from being doctors into holding seats in these organizations, which are often managed by people who are lining their pockets with us purchasing these drugs, right? And so there's so many hands in the pot at this point. I don't believe that people pushing these drugs in for adolescents to get that approved, I don't believe that they necessarily have the child's best interest at heart. I think there are other ways to do it. I do think that parents don't know what to do. I also don't think MDs are always trained in how to handle these lifestyle situations, right? We have training in how to handle lifestyle habits that we work with patients to try to change so that they can better their life. We try to do that without drugs and surgery. But we spend time learning that stuff. That is not given as the norm to MDs. So they're operating with only half the information that they need to be able to help these patients.
Yep.
And I think that's the downfall. So you can tell somebody, eat less, go walk. That's not what they need to hear. They need to have somebody who can walk them through making those changes. Often it's things we need to adjust in our mindset before anything else.
Everybody should have a personal chef.
Oh, that would be nice.
Wouldn't that be great? We need one too.
You have one.
Well, so let me read the.
It's
Thank
me.
you. Let's read the article. So this is the story about this mother and her daughter. Jillian's oldest child, Lucy, had difficulty maintaining a healthy weight for her entire life. And she's quoted as saying, "My husband and I exercise regularly. We're very athletic. And we understand how diet and exercise can make your life better. We felt we were good examples in life for that. So it was very difficult to watch this happen for years without being able to stop it." That's what Jillian told Headline News, Healthline News. They witnessed their daughter experience fat shaming from friends, coaches, and other adults. I wouldn't call them friends if they're doing that.
100%.
You can see for a teenager who is very overweight what that does to them socially and emotionally and everything. You get to a point where you are like, what can help this person realize there is another life out there, said Jillian. Over the years, they stressed how eating nutritious foods and exercising could help Lucy become healthier. During the pandemic, their concerns about her living with obesity heightened due to the fact that obesity was a risk factor for severe illness from COVID-19. Throughout Lucy's adolescent and teen years, Jillian and her husband connected her with a nutritionist and offered to pay for a meal plan, personal trainer, and gym membership. I think the amount of weight she needed to lose was so overwhelming to her that she didn't try anything. Now, parents can offer or they can do. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, it's so hard because you never know what parents are going through with their child and with behavior and things like that until you're there, right?
Yeah.
And so it's I never want to judge a parent for
No, of course not.
for the information, the only information they may have, the choices that they may make might be based on the limited information that they have. They may not know who to go to for help. Often we go to the internet and we Google things, right? We WebMD things. but you're going to get the same information that you would if you went and sat down with your, primary care.
Yeah.
And so again, you're dealing with often limited resources, limited information, limited education in that area. And so, but there are plenty of people that have an expertise in helping people with obesity. But the one thing that we can't do is expect people to know what to do, first off, and we need to be able to help them know that it's not just one thing that they need to change, right? We talk to people all the time. If you want to make massive changes in your life, it's not about changing one thing 100%. It's about taking 100 things that you're doing and changing it just by 1%, right? Those small changes across the board often yield the largest results.
And if you want fast results, you're doing it the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Slow, steady change is what it takes. It didn't, the morning after you eat a big cheesecake all by yourself, you're not going to be obese.
Correct.
It just, I wish that was the case, because people would be like, oh man,
It's
never
accumulative.
doing that again. Can you imagine you just woke up, all of a sudden you're 100 pounds heavier than you were the
Yeah.
night before?
Yeah, but if you do a good job about tracking your weight regularly, and I know there's tons of different ideas and thoughts about whether you should weigh yourself every day, once a week, don't do it at all. It is so important to see how your body responds to the foods you eat.
Yeah.
If you want to know how your body responds, you have to track it.
Oh yeah.
I hate list making. I am not a list maker. You know that. It's just not my personality. However, I have found if I don't track every single thing I put into my mouth, I have no idea why the scale has changed or not changed when I thought it should. And so it's been eye-opening to track that information and actually see how my body responds to too much sodium, too little sodium. Did I drink enough water? When I don't, I see a weight increase. Like all of those things, you have to know how your body responds so that you can manage it like a machine.
Yeah.
Right?
Pick 3 things and start doing them right now if you want to see change in your body. And one would be add an extra 10 minutes of some kind of activity to your day.
Movement.
Drink a gallon of water. It's a lot every day, but not at once.
Yes, please.
And weigh yourself every single morning when you wake up.
Yep.
Go to the bathroom, then weigh yourself. Write it down. You can't just weigh yourself. You got to write it down. And you got to look for trends. That's it. Just do those 3 things. As you start to see that weight go down, the reason you weigh yourself every day, one of those is the numbers in your mind. Mm-hmm. See, so when now it's breakfast time and you're choosing what you're going to eat for breakfast, you remember that number. You go, all right, I'm going to make a different choice. I really don't like that number, and I want tomorrow that number to be different.
Right.
And, and then, the last thing is guilt and discouragement actually increase your weight.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot experience guilt. You cannot be discouraged.
Yeah, you got to love yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
In every season.
Now, continuing on the article, in 2022, while on a walk with her friend, Dr. Angela Fitch, an obesity specialist, Jillian, so the doctor is the mom's friend. Okay?
Yes.
So Jillian shared how she was at a loss for helping Lucy lose weight. Fitch informed her that the anti-obesity GLP-1 medication Wegovy was approved to treat overweight and obesity for people over 12 years old. I was 100% not looking for a medication to change her life. I was hoping it would happen naturally, either through exercise and changing her diet or both, said Jillian.
Here's what I find interesting. Can I just say that?
Yeah.
They're good friends. They take walks together. In this whole process, she's never shared or talked to Jillian, Dr. Fitch, about her daughter's obesity.
Right. And why isn't Lucy walking with them?
100%.
In November of 2022, then 18-year-old Lucy started taking Wegovy. The data shows that people are able to do better with medication than they are without medication. That's true of a lot of diseases, asthma, depression, Fitch told Healthline. It's just for centuries we blamed people for not being able to control their disease state of obesity with only their willpower. What we determined is you can't control biology with willpower always. It's challenging to alter biology. I wrote a note on the side. It's challenging to change psychology too.
It's harder to change psychology, I think.
And again, that can be debated, but I agree with you. In fact, of the 22% of people 12 to 19 years old with obesity, research shows that most won't be able to manage the condition.
Right. But she's also, I have a little bit of an issue with the other disease processes that she brought in, saying data shows that people do better with medication
Right.
than without.
Yeah.
It's true of a lot of disease processes. Asthma is not a lifestyle disease,
Correct.
right? Obesity is a lifestyle disease. If we refuse to take ownership of that and we classify it as something we cannot control, we will not control it.
And it says they won't be able to manage. I don't know if they won't be able to. I don't think there's a single person who's not able. I think they don't know how to or they don't want to.
Correct. So, and now I'm sure that there are some genetic disease processes that make it difficult to lose weight or make it
Yes.
more possible to
Yes.
gain weight. So
Absolutely 100%.
there are those.
Just like I have dyslexia, so it makes it more difficult for me to learn. It makes it more difficult for me to read. I'm sure all of you who've been watching our podcast, you go, why does he read like a fifth grader or first grader? That's why. I have severe dyslexia. I've lived with it all my life. I've worked at it. It made life harder for me.
Yeah.
I thought I was slow and dumb all my life. When I would read in grade school, the other kids, even though they were trying to be nice, I could hear them giggling. And then by the time I was finished reading a paragraph, the whole class was in laughter, full-blown laughter, laughing at how I read.
Yep.
That just made life more difficult for me. Right. That doesn't mean I go, I'm not going to read. It just means
Correct.
I'm going to have to work harder than the average person.
Correct.
And let me ask you, the young lady, 18-year-old Lucy, if I said, can you just lose 1 pound? Do you think she would say, no, I can't lose even a single pound?
Right.
You can lose a pound.
And if you can lose a pound,
Let's just
you
lose a
can
pound.
lose 2.
And then I would say, if you lost a pound, can you see if you can keep it off? See if you can go a month without gaining a pound. You just lost a pound, and you could literally lose a pound by like reducing just a few calories.
Mm-hmm.
You lose a pound after a couple weeks, you lose 1 pound. Then see if you can go 4 weeks without gaining that. And I would just start there.
Yeah.
Can you do that? Great. You just took off a pound and you kept it off.
Yeah.
Good
Build
job.
confidence, baby steps at a
Good
time.
job.
But let's not tell anyone that something is not possible. To me, that's just as bad as a doctor giving a diagnosis of a terminal illness and telling someone, I've seen this a million times. Out of all my patients, they have this cancer, you have 1 month. You do not have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. As soon as because the mind is so powerful that as soon as you introduce that, majority of people, now you have some people that are totally antagonists, you tell them something, they're going to be like, that is not me, I'm not going to do that, right? That's probably my personality. I'm going to buck against the system.
There's a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and he spent a lot of time in Auschwitz at the concentration camp, and he said the people who were optimistic but set a deadline, they didn't make it. He
Right.
he said these people who are being in work camps, and their families have been gassed to death, and they're still alive because they can work. They work all day. They get a little piece of bread to eat, and that's it. And
If they're lucky.
they're shrinking down to nothing. They're skin and bone. They're malnourished. They're being put to work in their terrible conditions. And the people who said, "I bet you will get out by Christmas," the day after Christmas they would die. Because they didn't get. Now there were others who would say, "We'll eventually get out. Let's just survive. Take it day by day.
Yeah.
I know we'll eventually get out."
Yeah.
Those people made it. This is one of the things that the whole book is about.
Yeah.
So, anyways, January 2023, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended anti-obesity drugs like Wegovy for adolescents in its clinical practice guideline for the evaluation and treatment of children and adolescents with obesity. Fitch says the question shouldn't be why are doctors putting kids on anti-obesity medication, but rather why aren't they?
I can answer the why aren't they. There's a number of reasons. If Dr. Fitch would like to call me, I'm happy to have that conversation.
Yeah.
There's a number of there are plenty of reasons
doesn't
not
take
to
a
put a
genius.
child on a medication.
And if it's so good, why don't we put every kid on it, even if they're not obese? If we don't put them on medication, they're going to die potentially 8 years earlier than they should. They're going to have diabetes, sleep apnea, hypertension, heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure earlier. And why would we not want to help them not do that? She said. After taking Wegovy for 14 months, Lucy has lost nearly 70 pounds. Jillian said the weight loss has been life-changing for her daughter. She graduated from high school last year and is in college now, having the best time, said Jillian. Before she was so closed off, it was not an option to try out for things or talk to people, and she tries everything and does everything. She's happier, she's lighter, she's a very different person.
So I want you guys to hold on to that and the question Dr. Fitch asked, which was, why wouldn't we put every child on anti-obesity medication? Here's why. So you can keep reading, and I'm going to point it out here in just a minute because you're going to see that we didn't have the outcome. We got smaller, but we never changed this.
Yeah.
And it shows. So keep going.
While research shows GLP-1 medication is safe for children above the age of 12 and that the benefits outweigh the risk for children with obesity, Dina Peralta Reich, medical doctor, fellow of the AAP, American Academy of Pediatrics, and the Obesity Medicine Association, said these medications should be used under appropriate supervision. She said, she stressed that the medication should not be prescribed before trying to integrate healthier eating and lifestyle habits, discussing triggers, and incorporating exercise.
She also said the supervision should be provided by someone with experience who understands the physiology of children, because children are still developing. And nutrients are so vital, and specific nutrients to different developmental milestones. So and they're not done growing at 12, they're not done developing. So as we begin to introduce things that change how the digestive system works, and we're changing how their body is receiving nutrients during developmental milestones, it changes everything. So,
for example, children have high cholesterol. That's a fact. Why? Because cholesterol, triglycerides, these are building blocks to brain development, nerve development, neurologic development, and they're building blocks of every cell in your body. In fact, the cell membrane, if you go all the way back to 9th grade biology or whenever you took, I think I took biology in 10th grade. I was slow. But you know that the cell membrane is made of the lipid bilayer, which is cholesterol and triglycerides. I mean, so anything that gets damaged in the body needs cholesterol to be repaired. That's a fact. And if something's developing, like they're growing, they need cholesterol. So I know I may be wrong about the year. I think it was 2010 that the FDA said children over the age of 8 can take cholesterol medication, and we should start testing them. Then the result was it added $2 billion of revenue to the company that was making the very famous cholesterol medication, which I don't think I'm allowed to name, but you know what it is. And so Fitch agreed and said there is a misconception. This bothers me so much. This is the original doctor that was walking with the mom.
Yes.
She agreed and said there's a misconception that people just go on anti-obesity medication as an easy way out. You go, well, it is the easy way out. The girl didn't change a thing.
Not a thing.
What's easier than taking a pill? It's the easy way out. And she's like, this is not the easy way out. Well, what is it then? After having tried a bunch of stuff. Yeah, well, did she really try a bunch of stuff? Are you telling me exercise and good nutrition doesn't work for some people?
Right.
It works slower. You can't tell me it doesn't work. Gravity's a law. So is that.
Yeah.
You put anybody in that TV show, Survivor, you put anybody on an island and make them eat bugs instead of food for 40 days.
They will lose weight.
They lose weight. They all get skinny. They all lose weight.
Yeah. Which means if you reduce caloric intake and you increase your activity level.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
It's a
now, we are not proponents of reducing caloric intake extremely, especially in to a deficit.
10% of what you're eating, you cut 10%. So you're eating let's say you're eating 2,500 calories a day, cut 250 calories. That's it. Just very little. It shouldn't even be noticeable.
Right.
When you
Because your
starve
body
yourself,
needs
you lose muscle and bone.
your food is the energy in which you function from. And so there is a baseline of nutrients that your body needs. So if you're one of those individuals who has been constantly on one of those 12 to 1500 calorie diets,
Oh my gosh.
you need to,
You're going to have osteoporosis.
yeah, you're not losing just fat, you're losing fat and muscle and bone, and it's not the healthiest way to go.
Now, when you're younger, it's much less likely you lose muscle as you get older. So over the age of 40, every pound you lose, 75% is going to be muscle and bone.
Mm-hmm.
So only 25% is fat.
Yeah.
Don't do that. And if you talk to a nutritionist and they turn your life upside down, that's not the right nutritionist. They need to change one little thing and look for the results and figure out, okay, this worked. Then change one more thing and then check it out. That one didn't work, so we go back. We do something else. She encourages patients to focus on lifestyle intervention. However, when that doesn't work, medication can be considered. There's no way that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It works.
It only works if you don't do it.
That's right. That's right. So it's like saying gravity didn't work, but no, it was because the person was clumsy or coordinated.
Yeah.
Sometimes whatever's going on between environment and the human body with genetics just can't be fixed with lifestyle alone. You remember when we were at the Vault conference with Patrick Bet-David and them, and he said something that flipped a switch in your mind, and when we came back, you turned it around.
Yeah.
And you went, what do you remember? I remember what it was.
Yeah, that was my birthday weekend where we were trying to, we were away in Miami and we were trying to figure, what I wanted for my birthday and things like that. But he said, he talked about it not being fair to your spouse or your family to allow yourself to gain an excessive amount of weight. And he said it was like, so for him, it was like carrying an extra suitcase around all the time. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, you're right. It is like that. It's such an extra load that you're carrying constantly. And it's not just the physical weight, it's the emotional angst that you have, the mental drain that it takes because you're constantly thinking about food and not in a positive way. And so, yeah, that really triggered me. And I came back and I was like, okay, we're doing something different. But that's how I work. I'm usually I need that, whatever that switch is that needs to be flipped, that has to be done. And then I'm usually all in. And then it's hard to stop me. So,
yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing. But prior to that, I bet you had thoughts of, this is how I'm built. This is how my body works. It's hard for me to lose weight.
Well, I kind of knew that it wasn't how I was built. However, it's easy to say that. And that's probably where a lot of my angst came in because we know what we know, but I was still struggling.
Yeah.
But my
And I
struggle
had
was
never heard
struggling
you
to
say
get in the
that.
gym.
I'm just wondering if you had those thoughts. I never heard you say that. I mean,
Well, I mean, sometimes you feel like it's never going to change. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But that,
a lot of times when you've said something, it was never about your physiology. It was about your mind. You always
Yeah.
said, "This is the kind of person I am.
yeah.
I like to eat like this. It's hard for me to eat the other way. I can't be as structured as you.
Oh, yeah.
Those were the things I would hear you
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
And now you are.
And while some of that is true, I still am not as structured, but now I've created a structure within so I still get to be a little unstructured, but I do it with the right foods.
Within boundaries, you have
Correct.
freedom.
Correct.
There was a study done on children with playgrounds. They had this playground where there wasn't a fence around the playground, and the kids all congregated in the center of the playground.
Yep.
When they put the fence around it, the kids spread out. And they actually had more freedom when there was a fence around the playground than there wasn't because they knew how far they could go. Boundaries create freedom. You think they limit you, they
Yeah,
don't.
but they don't. Yep.
It says a lot of kids don't get access to obesity care and keep getting told to eat 5 fruits and vegetables per day, limit screen time to 2 hours, and exercise for 1 hour. But we have to try to function in our environment in the most helpful way we can.
Okay, but who set up that criteria that they're putting out there?
Yeah, where does that come from? You're telling me everybody's the same.
It's like we're still operating off of that food pyramid we all learned in elementary school, which is such a farce to begin with. So you have a bunch of people who don't know really how to
Right.
get healthy, creating these
I mean,
arbitrary.
I've talked to medical doctors, and I said, what classes did you take on nutrition and exercise in medical school? And they said, oh, we had one class. They said, if you have diabetes, don't eat sugar. If you have high blood pressure, don't eat salt. And if you have heart disease, don't eat fat. And he said that was the whole class. And they, I was like, wow, my fifth grader could pass that class. I
Right.
don't have a fifth grader. I have a fourth grader. I have a second grader. I bet you the second grader could pass that class. But the funny thing is, those are all wrong. If you have hypertension, doesn't mean cutting fat is going to reduce your blood pressure.
Correct.
If you have diabetes, just not eating sugar is not going to fix it. Anyways, it says patients should see their physician at least once a month or even more frequently when they're on this. Possible side effects of GLP. For Lucy, the negative effects of drinking alcohol at college parties are a harsh reality. If she drinks more than one drink, she gets sick, which upsets her. She wants to be she wants to be a typical college student to the point where she thought about stopping the medication because of drinking, but she hasn't changed her eating habits or isn't exercising on the regular, so she'd go right back to where she was. This is what her mother said. The potential long-term complications are if the child has not reached puberty yet, parents should discuss how the medication can affect their growth, blah, blah. I mean, this is kind of common sense.
But this is what I was talking about is for her, first of all, we're saying typical teens are heavy drinkers, college students. While that may be some, that is not the general
When is
consensus.
college supposed to be about being able to drink as much as you can?
And if that's what we're teaching our kids, maybe we're sending the wrong message.
Maybe we
How
shouldn't send our kids to college.
maybe.
I already told our kids only two of them are going to college.
Right.
One of them can't go. They can decide which one.
Sounds good. So, and that's the part I was talking about where I know that they didn't do the work on the forefront. So they've dropped this girl into who doesn't have the right mindset. She's way too young to be on a medication like this. They have her on it. She would rather drink than be on it, but she doesn't want to be overweight either, but she doesn't want to do the work. So it's not hard to see that this is a little bit of a messy situation. Probably shouldn't have been the candidate for that. I think they should have some kind of program that they have to get on and stay on for a certain period of time before they're ever allowed. And then maybe we don't even need to put them on that if they can figure it out.
I see it now. I think the pharmaceutical companies are going to come out with off-label use of Wegovy for alcoholics.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? Because there's off-label use of all these other drugs. They're like, oh, this is really for weight loss, but if you're an alcoholic, take this drug, and then every time you drink, you're going to get sick, and then you won't want to drink anymore. Isn't that what anti-smoking drugs do?
Yeah, I think so.
Chantix? Anyways, last sentence. The mother said, I don't love that she's dependent on a drug to be this way, but it's so worth it. She's so happy. Wow.
She's actually not happy because she wants to drink more.
That's a whole different podcast.
Mm.
And we just spent 30 some minutes talking about
We did.
one
That
article.
was kind of a big one, though.
It was a big one. Do you want to talk about microplastics or save that for next podcast?
Yeah, let's do microplastic.
This is in Everyday Health. Microplastics in bottled water are more abundant than previously thought. Drinking water from disposable plastic bottles may be passing hundreds of thousands of potentially harmful tiny plastic particles into our bodies. Research published Monday in the Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences found that a liter of water in a plastic bottle contained an average of about 240,000 detectable plastic fragments, 10 to 100 times more than previous estimates.
Wow.
While their true impact on human health is yet to be determined, micro and nanoplastics are so small that they can pass through the protective tissues of the intestines and lungs and directly enter the bloodstream. From there, the fragments can travel to organs including the heart and brain. They can also cross through the placenta to the bodies of unborn babies. Although significant clinical human trials have yet to be conducted on the topic, animal and lab studies suggest that microplastics may raise cancer risk and pose harm to the human digestive, reproductive, and respiratory systems, according to the report. Research also has linked micro and nanoparticles to disrupting thyroid and endocrine function, obesity, and insulin resistance. Impact depends on factors like toxicity, concentration, exposure duration, and the body's response to these nanoparticles. So if there's already toxicity in the body, it has a higher effect. If there's more of them, it gets worse. If you're exposed to it for a longer period of time, it's worse, and so on. Drinking tap water or water in glass bottles may be safer. And
although tap is not necessarily safer
no,
because
we talked about lead and mercury and everything else.
well, but they also
copper.
said that in the water treatment plants, some of the filtration is plastic, so they're saying it's also getting into the drinking water.
Yeah.
So it just may not be as high levels.
Many water bottles, as well as containers of sodas, sport drinks, and products like ketchup and mayonnaise, will have these microplastics. So nanoplastics are smaller than microplastics.
You remember the little micro machines?
Yes. My favorite toys.
Always wanted to talk fast like that guy.
Anyways, and if it affects your hormones, I mean, they literally, studies are coming out saying men today have less testosterone on average than 100 years ago.
Well, look at the infertility rates that we have.
Yep.
Right? I mean, and remember, it's not one thing, right? So in all of these things, in all of these articles we're reading, there's issues with toxicity levels in our drinking water because of microplastic particles right? And then we have all the forever chemicals that are in our clothing, in the soil, in our carpets, in
dryer sheets.
We're inundated with these. Yeah.
Receipt paper is estrogen.
So we are, same thing with dryer sheets.
Yep.
Dryer sheets. So we have all of these things that are changing our physiology every single day. Not being aware of those things and finding ways to combat that, guys, it's so important. It's small things. Look at the ingredients in the items that you're putting on and in your body. And if there's any risk factor at all, you need to think twice about deciding to do that. We're just inundated. There's so many things we can't see, we can't smell, we can't touch that are creating this toxic load. And we need to find ways where we can step outside of that. So
right.
Our health depends on it.
Or balance it. Like, I won't tell you guys not to drink soda, but I'll say don't drink soda every day.
I will tell you not to drink diet soda.
Yeah.
It's pretty yucky.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't avoid toxicity. But if you have a good liver and you support your liver properly, it'll detoxify most of those things for you. We were created with a liver and kidneys and spleen and
Right.
Other factors that
But when
help.
the load becomes too much for the body to break down those toxins, that's when disease processes get ignited. That's when, if you know anything about epigenetics, those are some of the things that turn our genes on and off.
Like if you're going to drink soda, drink one soda once a week, schedule it, and then make sure it's not soda that has high fructose corn syrup in it. Make sure it's cane sugar.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you just made your life 100 times healthier.
Right.
The follow-up research is going to look at tap water, which also has been shown to contain microplastics, though far less than bottled water. So that's what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
And the researchers warn that we cannot surely say yet that tap water is safer, as it may contain higher levels of other pollutants such as heavy metals and black carbon. Further research is essential to determine the extent of human exposure and to evaluate the environmental and health consequences of these nanoplastics. But it just you can drink out of glass bottles. But if you every once in a while you drink out of a bottled water, that's all right. I think that's why bottled water has expiration dates on it.
Hmm.
Because the water doesn't expire, but
But the
if
plastic
it's
breaks
been
down.
in contact with plastic for a really long period of time, it's probably not safe to drink.
Or if it's been heated. So please
Yeah.
don't heat your food in plastics in the
You're at a
microwave.
restaurant and like you get a bottle of water, turn it over, look at the expiration date. If it's passed, give it back and get another one.
If you've had the water bottle in your car and it's in the summertime
Oh
and
yeah.
it's been heated, don't just throw it out. Don't
Yeah.
use it. It's not worth it. So, well, that was a little bit of a sad two
Yeah.
articles. Very informational,
Give them
but
something good, something positive.
what do we got?
Well, we probably don't have it in these articles
No,
because
not
we're going to
today.
talk about ADHD and stuff next time. But you know what? You did say something that was very positive, which is you have to love yourself. There's no place for guilt in a healthy person.
Correct.
There's no place for shame. There's no place for discouragement. You are amazing. The human body is incredible. Someone said if you take one cell out of a human body, expand it to to the size of a spaceship, it would be more intricate than any spaceship anyone could even fathom. That's how complex and complicated you are. You are amazing, and your body is created to function perfectly to sustain life. Most of it we don't understand. They call that irreducible complexities. We can narrow it down to this, but then we don't know how the rest of it happens. And so those irreducible complexities are called innate wisdom. Your body has innate wisdom. It knows how to handle things.
It does.
That's why we can put up with so much stress in our lives. That's why we can put up with so much toxicity in our lives and still keep going. Improve just a little bit today. Just pick one thing, weigh yourself every day, and add 10 minutes of activity. That activity can be, you remember a cozy exercise on TikTok? We reported on that.
talked about that.
Do some cozy exercise. I think it's worthless. But anyways, it's better than nothing.
Well, and remember, each day you get to make new choices. And that's the important thing to remember. I think, especially if you're dealing with obesity, is the decision you made yesterday, it's already done. So now you get to start over and you get to make a different decision, which can put you on the right path to health.
Yeah, focus on the things you like about yourself.
Yep. There's a lot of great things. We like you.
Powerful. We do. We like you very much. We're grateful for you. And we're going to come back with more information next time. Take care. God
Bye.
bless you.